Hi everyone, so I am doing my reading wrap up for last week. So the first book I read last week was this one here, A Sheriff's Star by Mckenna Lee. Now this is a part of a series. This is the first book, Home to Oak Hollow. And so it looks like it's a Christmas romance. The Christmas romance really doesn't happen until like toward the end. So it's definitely more of a fall, winter romance. So we got the characters of Tess, Anson, and Hannah. So I said this story hit close to my heart. I said content warning for talk of abortion, also family death in here. So the spice rating, I gave it like a 2 out of 5. It did have less like sexy times, but the romance was really good. So I can kind of like overlook that if the story is good. So we have Tess and Hannah have been on their own since Hannah was born. When Tess found out her baby was going to be born with Down syndrome, her husband and her husband's crappy mother didn't want anything to do with the child that wasn't perfect. So Tess decides to raise Hannah on her own. Tess ends up losing her daughter in a store, and as any good parent would, she's freaking out, you know. So luckily the sheriff of the town they're staying in temporarily found Hannah. So it said Anson's a former military man that is in need of a family of his own. I need to fix that on my review. He's in need of a family of his own. I'm gonna sneeze. His ex-wife lied about being pregnant and just played games with the poor guy. So he's kind of like, you know, he wants a family, but he also is a little like gun shy, you know, especially because he knows like Hannah and Tess are there only temporarily because she's like helping to fix up this historic site. And so she's only supposed to be there for like a couple of months and then move on. So I said, as soon as he meets Hannah and Tess, he is instantly smitten with them both. He thinks Hannah is adorable and he's attracted to Tess, but he can see how leery Tess is about getting involved with a police officer. Tess's father unfortunately died in the line of duty because he was a police officer in San Diego, and she ended up losing her brother. He was in the Navy. She lost him in the military as well. So she's lost a lot. And then her mother got sick and got cancer, and basically just, she gave up. She didn't want to do treatment, and that's sad and awful, but I can understand where the woman was coming from, you know. So Tess is scared that she's going to lose more people. It's understandable, you know. She's leery, you know. I completely understand that. So this book was heartbreaking, but also you could see how much Anson and his whole family needed Tess and Hannah in their lives. I said his family brought so much happiness for Hannah and Tess, and it was a great town with like nice people. And so I said Hannah to me was like the little girl. She was the one that stole the book, you know. She was the one. She's the sweetest little girl. And I said this story just tugged at my heartstrings. I said my youngest daughter, she's autistic. I said plus also when I was a teenager, I was friends with a girl that had Down syndrome. And so this one here was just emotional for me to read, but it was really good because I really liked the story, and I felt Tess and Hannah really needed, you know, Anson, and Anson needed them. And like, you could see how much he adored that child and how much he was attracted to Tess and adored Tess. And it was a beautiful story. So I ended up giving this one 5 stars because I really, really enjoyed this. I actually like got this last year in like a book subscription. And so I was like holding off on it because, you know, Harlequins are not really my type of like books that I kind of like delve into. But I decided to delve into this, and then it just was like, I liked it so much that I was like, I need to get the rest of the series. So I ordered the other books in the series, so I'm hoping those ones are good. The second book has to do with a child that has autism, so that one's probably going to be like, you know, going to get to me. But this one was really good. A great, you know, love story, and it was just, I really enjoyed it. So this was definitely a favorite of mine. So the next book I ended up reading, my tablet went off, is, I ended up going into, this one here it was a really short story. I mean, they say novella, but I'm like, this was like short, like 50 some pages. It was very short. So I read this at Thanksgiving. Now, I went and read Baby Gravy by Frankie Love. Now this one here, oh boy. I gave this one 4 stars. So we got the characters of Russet and Autumn. You know, like his name's Russet, like russet potatoes. So I gave this 4 out of 5 for chili peppers. It was steamy. It was steamy. So I said, Russet is on vacation from the military visiting his best friend and his family. Autumn came home for Thanksgiving with her current boyfriend in tow. I said, 4 years ago, Russet and Autumn had a thing one summer. So as soon as Russet sees Autumn, he like lays it all on the line. This was just quick, to the point kind of thing, you know? I said it was a super quick read. Honestly, I wish that the author put in their romance before Russet got deployed. So it expanded their romance more. I said, I felt like I was reading the ending of a book. I said, rather than a novella. It did feel like that to me. Hence why I didn't give it 5 stars. Because it felt like I was like, I felt like I was missing something. I'm like, more of the story, you know? I'm like, I wanted to see like a little bit of the romance like before he got deployed. Like, you know, when he like broke her heart, you know? So this was kind of like a second chance for them. And this was, like I said, super quick. Like, within like 15 minutes of seeing her, he's going down on one knee and he's like asking her to marry him. I mean, this was like quick. And all she wanted to be at like 18 years old, like when they first kind of like hooked up, was being a mom, you know, and a wife. And I thought that was like, whew, that was a little quick. But it was like 4 years later. So I was like, okay, they're in their early 20s. So it's not so bad. The food puns in here were funny. Like him saying, you know, like he's going to give her his baby gravy. And I'm just like, oh Lord. You know, I'm just like, oh boy. But a couple of them like made me cringe a little bit. Like, oh, okay. You know, you kind of like stop with the food puns. I'm like, it's a little bit much here. But this is like the first book that I've read from Frankie Love. So I'll check out like her other novellas and stuff just to see. But this one here, I was just like, woo, okay. You know, but I really wished it would have been longer than what it was. It was like super quick. And then it was done, you know. So, I mean, I gave it 4. I liked it, but it was just, I really wish that the story was a little, you know, expanded more. But still, like, you know, it's like a good smutty read for like Thanksgiving if you're like in the mood for that type of thing, you know. So then the last book I read, this is Tessa Bailey, Window Shopping. Unfortunately, I gave this one a 3. There's only like a couple of books out of Tessa Bailey's that I've read that I've given 3 stars to. I think the other one was like, Fixer Up. Too many times in that book, the guy kept saying like this nickname for the character. It just drove me nuts. And so for this one here, okay, so we got the characters of Stella and Aiden. Now, this was spicy. I mean, I gave it like 4 out of 5 for the chili peppers. It was spicy, but I felt like the romance was lacking in this. So I said it's Christmas season, and Stella is looking at a department store window. I'm assuming this is in New York, I think. I said it's one of those high-end stores, and she just can't get over how unattractive and cold the window dressing is, you know. That's what helps, like, attract you into the store. If you see something in the window and you're like, oh, I'm going to go check that out, you know. It's kind of like a impulse purchase, you know. This is the thing about stores. If you're a good store, you know about impulse buy. Like if I go into Joann's, etc., you know, the fabric place, if anybody knows what that is, not every state probably has Joann's, etc. So think of like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, things like that. What do you usually see like at the register? Candy, different things like that. Those are impulse buys, you know. We are definitely, you know, we all pretty much do that, you know, impulse buy. I'll be like, ooh, candy. Ooh, I'm going to pick that up and get it. Now they have an extra purchase that I may not have did. So that's basically what the old department stores have done, is like they used to create these like window shopping areas. Now, I don't usually shop when it comes to like big department stores and things like that, you know, things that you would see in like a New York City. So I really don't care about that type of thing. But that's pretty much what attracts you to the store, is like the window dressing. So she's looking at this like, how is this attracting anything? So she kind of makes this like face, and Aiden comes up to her and he sees that she made that face. He's like, why are you making that face? You know, it's like, what's wrong with the window dressing? And so she basically tells him like, hey, you know, this is jacked up. That's it, this is this. And he's smiling and he's drinking his coffee and he's just like, okay, tell me more. And so she talks to him, and then he's like basically telling her, oh, you should apply for a job here. And she's like, I don't know about that, you know. And you could see like they're clearly attracted to one another. He's wearing like this dorky bow tie, and so he basically, you know, they kind of like talk for a little bit. You can see the attraction, and then she kind of goes to her, you know, own way. And so you end up finding out that Aiden is the general manager of that store, and he's been trying to keep it going. And so he basically is waiting for her to like, you know, put application in. So he ends up finding out that she is an ex-con. Stella had went to jail for 4 years for armed robbery. Her and her friend went and robbed this one store. And so she ended up getting out. So, of course, she's an ex-con. She figures, you know, even if she does fill out, you know, the application, she's probably not going to get hired, because it is harder for ex-cons to get hired. This is one thing I could say that is a part of the problem with people when people get out of jail, is that there's not all these places are willing to hire somebody who's an ex-con. And so I think this is why some people reoffend, because they don't have anything else going for them. Now, there are people out there who reoffend because that's what they do. It's easier to just break the law than it is to, you know, work an actual job, you know. So there are people out there who want to do the easy way, and unfortunately they end up reoffending, you know, and going back into jail. So she didn't want to make the same mistake, and she wanted to, you know, get hired somewhere. So he, I would say, benefited her because he was attracted to her. So he ended up hiring her. And this is their romance of like them getting to know each other. What really lacked for me in this romance was the fact that both characters were a bit insecure for me. A bit too insecure for me. I said they need to work through that. I said Aiden's family were a bunch of snobby, rich a-holes. they were. He went and he saved their business years ago and helped them, but they still treated him like crap. And I'm like, this is the thing with family. I've dealt with toxic family members for years. And I don't care if they're your blood. If they don't treat you good, why be in their lives? Why? He grew up basically with his aunt and uncle in the South because his father wanted to have alone time with his new wife. So they're a bunch of rich snobs. And he's more like down to earth, even though he has money, he's more down to earth, you know. That'd be the type of person that I'd want to get to know, is this down to earth person. Those snobby a-holes, they honestly needed their business to just tank. Because then maybe they know what it's like to live as a normal person who doesn't have money. So these people needed to get their karma, and they didn't, because he saved their, he saved their butts. So I felt like they were very undeserving, and they needed to not have him around because they were just a-holes. And her friend was a manipulative piece of crap. And you could tell throughout the story that her friend Nicole was a mental abuser and went and used that girl. She used Stella for years to be friends. I've known people like that. I've had friends like that who've used me because they didn't have anybody else. But then as soon as someone else better came along, they ditched me so they could hang out with that person. So she kind of like manipulated poor Stella through years and got her to do this armed robbery with her. And I felt like if she didn't have that friend, she would have never did that. And she was like beating herself up like, oh, well, I'm to blame. And it's like, yeah, you went along with it. So you have to, obviously you have to deal with the consequences to your actions, definitely. But when you've been manipulated for many years, this is why I think she got a little bit less time than her friend. I think her friend should have went to jail longer. Her friend got off like easier. Especially because she shot the one dude. He could have almost died. And so I felt like, no, that B should have been in jail much longer, because I don't feel like she served enough time for the stuff that she did. And at the end of the book, she like forgave her friend, said to her, oh, well, we need to be more independent, more independent with each other. And I was like, F that. Soon as I got out of jail for going along with some moron in doing a armed robbery, I would have never talked to that person again. They're the one that convinced them to do that stupid crap. So I'm like, no, don't be friends with people who put you down a wrong path. And so for me, I was really kind of like, not liking the direction of like basically forgiving these people. And I'm like, no, F them. F them. They don't deserve forgiveness. And it's like, maybe I'm more of a vindictive person, but I have dealt with enough crap in my life that I would rather be alone than deal with crappy people. So for me, I was like, no. I felt like the romance was kind of like, not enough there, not enough development there. I did like his character, I did like him, and she was kind of like definitely more of alternative, she had like comet boots and things like that, so I kind of liked her, style. But I really just disliked that she forgave her friend like just too quickly, and was still friends with her, and I would be like, so yeah, no, I liked that book less, and I was just all about, no forgiveness, F them, F these people. So, I'm definitely one that holds a grudge. Somebody F's me over, I hold that grudge forever. forever. I never forget what they did to me. So yeah, that one there was like definitely lacking. Also, I would say if you're not a fan of romances or like basically any fiction book where it's like you're wanting that escapism, if the pandemic is like brought up, it really kind of sours it for you. It kind of did that for me too a little bit, even though it's like, okay, this is like after the pandemic. This is like, oh, everything's getting back to like normal again, which technically not really, because of all the other stuff that, you know, they throw at us. So, I'm not going to go into about that, but I'm just saying, like, to me, I don't want that stuff in my romance novels. Please leave that crap out of my romance novels. I want the escapism. I don't want to be shoved into reality and, you know, be reminded of that crap. So yeah, I prefer to just please leave that out of the romance novels. I want the fantasy. I want that escapism. I don't want reality. Reality I see every freaking day. I don't want it. So yeah, for me, I was like 3. It was decent. You know, Tessa Bailey's definitely one of those authors where the dirty talk is good and usually the intimate scenes and all that stuff are good, but the romance was just lacking in this one. And maybe because it was a novella, I don't know, but it definitely was lacking. But yeah, that's it for this video here. Have yourselves a good day. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. Be safe out there. And I will see you all on the next video. All right. Bye.